Chapter 1534. Isn't it natural for your Xiaoyao team to be ranked last? Firstly, every participating team has 10 members, with 3 to 5 substitutes taking turns. However, your carefree team only has 7 members in total. Let me ask you, in a situation where your strength is equal, with 10 members against 7 members, do you think you have any chance of winning? Second, look at the cultivation of everyone in your team. In this competition, every member, including the substitutes, is at the peak of Anidia. Those strong teams even have Jindan Shouja. What about you? 3 at the peak of Anidia, the rest are at level 8, level 9, and there's even one at level 7. TSK, you can't be thinking that the Tri-Academy competition, which is a gathering of talents, is a small competition like the freshman entrance examination, right? Only level 7 Luo Yu's face turned purple from anger. Only level 9 Leng Yuma also wanted to kill someone. But what made Luo Yu most angry was, my 6 Shiji is at the peak of Anidia. What right do you have to say that her personal strength is the weakest? Xian Hai stroked his beard, not at all annoyed by Luo Yu and Leng Yuma's questioning attitude. Instead, he slowly explained, Jun Mu Yan is an assistant zither player. With her performance in the freshman entrance examination, if she can enter a strong team, she will naturally be very useful. Even if her martial strength is very low, this Taoist will definitely not rank her last. But the problem is, an assistant zither player with no fighting strength, in a weak 7-person team, wouldn't she be a live target that anyone could easily kill? This Taoist thinks that placing her last is not wrong. Damn you, it's not wrong. Let me tell you, my little shimmy, before she could finish, Leng Yuma and Luo Yu suddenly felt someone pulling them, interrupting their vehement scolding. Just as the two were about to flip out, they realized that the person pulling them was Mu Yan. They couldn't help but say angrily, little shimmy, what kind of lousy ranking is this? It's too much, it actually said. Mu Yan raised her hand to her lips and made a shoo gesture. She smiled and said, this kind of ranking is just a prediction, it's not the real result. What's there to fuss about? If 4th Shiji and Xiao Qi are really angry, why don't we fight in the competition? After saying that, he directly pulled the two of them away. But in the eyes of others, they had fled with their tails between their legs. In fact, he was so embarrassed that he couldn't even stay in the Changle Palace anymore. After a moment of silence, the crowd burst into earth-shattering laughter. I was wondering who it was. So it's the legendary 7-man Xiaoyao team. Ha ha ha, is there something wrong with the Starry School's brain? How could they let such a team participate? Are they here to participate in the Tri-Academy tournament or to embarrass themselves? I've heard that there's nothing they can do about it. The other branches have to go through layers of selections to select their elites to participate in the Tri-Academy tournament. Only the Alcade branch has 7 people, so they naturally don't need to compete to advance to the finals. Ha 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 ha. If I had to say, this is so enviable. We don't need to participate in the branch selection to participate in the 3 academies tournament. This is an opportunity that we can't even beg for. I think the Starry School will definitely be at the bottom of the Tri-Academy tournament this time. TSK. Even I feel ashamed for them. Chapter 1535. On the other hand, the faces of the people from the Starry School were all pale. They could not wait to tear the people from the Yaoguang branch into pieces. Luckily, Master Xian Hai has a good temper. He didn't bother with those country bumpkins. I feel that Master Xian Hai's prediction is very accurate. We'll bet according to this. We definitely won't lose anything. Xian Hai flicked his horsetail whisk, still looking like an immortal. He said lightly, everyone, please don't say that. I welcome everyone to question my evaluation list. If I was wrong, I'm naturally willing to apologize to the Carefree team. How could you be wrong, Master Xianhai? That country bumpkin Carefree team will definitely be last. I'll go and bet now. Me too, me too. Luckily, I came early this year and got Master Xianhai's ranking immediately. If others get the news, the betting odds will definitely drop and we won't be able to earn much. Outside the Eternal Music Palace, Ling Yuma was still fuming. Junior sister, why didn't you let me beat up that old fart? He actually said that we were last. I want to let him know what it means to lose your last dog life. Mu Yen smiled lightly, a hint of slyness in her eyes. Fourth senior, when Master Xianhai's ranking was announced, do you think everyone will go and bet? Of course. With everyone betting on us to lose, won't the odds of our Carefree team winning get higher and higher? Chu Moli added leisurely, at that time, the scariest thing will be the odds of the individual champion. The person who was evaluated by Grandmaster Xianhai to be in last place, after the competition ended, became the first in the overall strength evaluation of over 300 people. Guess how many crystals we can earn? Ling Yuma and Luo Yu looked at each other with their eyes wide open. You mean? Mu Yen tapped her index finger on her lips. The Buddha said, don't say it. The odds now aren't high enough. We're not in a hurry, let's wait. Ling Yuma and Luo Yu were so excited that their lips began to tremble. Yes, yes, junior sister, you are absolutely right. So what if people say a few words? It's not like we will lose a piece of meat. Earning spar is the real deal. Luo Yu rubbed her hands together. No, I don't think I have enough crystals on hand. I have to borrow some from Jing Little Fatty and the others. This time, the Xiaoyao school is going to make a fortune. Ha ha ha. April 16th, one day before the start of the 3 Academies tournament. The entire school of the Emperor's Star was on high alert. Almost all of the leaders of the prestigious clans and sects in the entire Azure Blue Realm were gathered here. The protective barrier of the school of the Emperor's Star was closed. Anyone who entered or exited the school had to undergo strict checks. Mayan has gathered all the crystal stones and bet them all on the Carefree team to win the championship and June Mayan to rank first in the individual comprehensive strength list. Looking at the odds and thinking about the number of crystals they would get after the competition, they were all overjoyed. However, the other people in the Emperor's Star Palace, after knowing that they had bet all their wealth on him, all treated them like fools. On the evening of the 16th of April, the banquet of the Jasper Forest Association officially began. Huge fireworks soared into the sky, blooming in the night sky like beautiful flowers. Mayan raised her head and stared blankly at this scene, muttering in her heart. Xiao Bao, can you see the fireworks? Chapter 1536. On Tai Square, a banquet was set up. All kinds of spiritual fruits and spiritual food were placed on the table. Tens of thousands of cultivators sat around these banquets, chatting amiably. They flowed through the crowd, but it didn't feel crowded at all. Fireworks bloomed in the sky. In the center of Tai Square, there was smooth music and dancing singers. The entire school of the Emperor's Star was brightly lit and prosperous. This was the largest banquet of the Azure Blue World, the Jasper Forest Gathering. Di Yudao sat on the high seat of honor. Looking at the crowd below, thousands of thoughts flashed through his mind. Especially when his eyes fell on the 7 people not far away, the 7 young men and women who came from the Yaoguang branch. The most dazzling girl was lightly plucking the strings of the zither. She had a lazy and calm smile on her face. Occasionally, she would toast with her companions and smile at each other. That atmosphere was truly indescribably relaxed and cozy, and it also carried the crystal-clear and high-spirited nature of a youth. For some reason, a scene from a long time ago appeared in front of Diudeo's eyes. His mind was in a trance, and he unconsciously muttered, Yaoguang. Yaoguang. Du Dao didn't notice that when he muttered Yaoguang, Sui Luan, who was sitting next to him, glanced at him. His eyes were deep and treacherous, but the corners of his mouth hooked up in a faint smile. Very quickly, Du Dao suddenly came back to his senses. His facial muscles twitched. When he looked at the 7 people from the Yaoguang branch again, his eyes seemed to be stained with poison, cold and gloomy. The Yaoguang branch, and the past events of the past. He would never, ever allow these things to see the light of day again. Mu Yan was drinking and chatting with her fellow disciples. She gently plucked the strings of the zither to liven up the mood. Suddenly, she felt a very uncomfortable gaze fall on her. She suddenly raised her head and met Du Dao's cold gaze. However, in just a moment, Du Dao moved his gaze away and returned to his gentle appearance as a dean. It was as if the gloominess just now was just his illusion. Mu Yan slightly raised her eyebrows, smiling faintly. Her mind unconsciously thought of the sound of the zither that she once heard at night. The Yaoguang branch obviously had a secret. But did this secret have something to do with this Dean Zhai? Junior sister, what's wrong? Mu Yan shakes her head. Just as she is about to reply that it's nothing, a dazzling light suddenly flashes in the sky. Everyone in the Tai Square could not help but look up at the sky. After a strong light flashed, a huge spaceship appeared in the sky. The outer appearance of the spaceship was not eye-catching. It was just an ordinary purple color, and the body of the spaceship was inlaid with some not too dazzling gems. However, the halo around the flying ship was emitting a powerful aura that was equivalent to that of an original infant stage cultivator. Just the external defense alone was already so strong. It was enough to show that the identity of the person in the spaceship was definitely not ordinary. Seeing this spaceship, Du Dao suddenly stood up and excitedly strode forward. The people of the great clans, Feng Tian, and the principals of the Lingwu Academy were initially unable to react to the situation, but after seeing Du Dao's actions, they immediately thought of something and stepped forward to welcome him. Who had come? Why are our dark-faced dean and the people from the big families so excited? Yun Ruhan's eyes flashed as she stared at a symbol at the stern of the ship. That's someone from the Purple Cloud realm. Chapter 1537. The spaceship descended slowly. The cabin door opened and a group of people walked out. These people were dressed in ordinary clothes. They were either dark blue or dark purple. Their looks were so ordinary that no one would recognize them if they were thrown into a crowd. However, every time a person came out, the people present couldn't help but gasp. This was because every one of these people was at least at the Golden Core stage. There were more than 100 people and every one of them was at the Golden Core stage. What did this mean? Moreover, looking at the clothes of these people, they were just ordinary servants or guards. There was a commotion in the Tai Square. Everyone lowered their voices and started to discuss. Who the hell is this big shot that has come? Why is there such a big lineup? Even Dean Zhai came to welcome them personally. I heard that the Purple Cloud Realm will also send someone here. Could it be that they are from the Purple Cloud Realm? It can't be. Someone from the Purple Cloud Realm really came. After the Golden Core stage servants came out of the cabin, they didn't leave. Instead, they stood on both sides. Not long after, 2 old men with white hair and beards and a middle-aged man walked out of the building. Many people gasped when they saw the 2 old men and the middle-aged man. Nascent Soul Stage. These 3 are all Nascent Soul Stage cultivators. However, after the 3 of them got off the spaceship, they still didn't leave. Instead, they waited at the door and bowed respectfully. They actually let 3 Nascent Soul Stage cultivators be their servants. Who is the owner of this spaceship? I know that middle-aged man. He is the hall leader of the Flowing Moon sect, Li Zuping. Oh my god, he is also a servant. How powerful is he to be protected by the hall leader of the Flowing Moon sect? As soon as they finished speaking, the light at the door of the cabin flickered. Then, a man who was about 40 years old and dressed like a Confucian scholar appeared in front of everyone. This Confucian scholar had a handsome face and didn't emit any pressure. He looked like an ordinary person. However, the expressions of Du Dao and the others changed at the same time. Only they could tell that this middle-aged man's cultivation had definitely reached the peak of the nascent soul stage. He might even have 1 foot in the leaving body stage. However, this middle-aged man was alone. Even if the deans of the 3 academies worked together, they might not be a match for him. Du Dao immediately revealed a smile and was about to step forward. However, the scholar turned around and bowed respectfully. He said in a low voice, "11th Highness, please come out. We have arrived at the Starry School." As soon as he finished speaking, a young man about 11 or 12 years old walked out of the spaceship. The youth's appearance was extremely handsome, but his entire temperament seemed a little cold. He lowered his eyes and did not reveal any expression. Beside the young man, there were a few young girls who were as beautiful as flowers. One by one, they gently tidied up the young man's clothes and helped him down the spaceship. Their actions were gentle and teasing, but there was a hint of caution. As soon as the youngster appeared, the Gold Core servants, Nascent Soul servants, and Confucian scholars all bowed in unison. "Greetings, Your Highness." Du Dao's pupils constricted as he looked at the young man with a fervent gaze. He had heard that there might be royalty from the Purple Cloud realm coming to the Jasper Forest Conclave. But he had originally thought that it would at most be a marquis or a prince. He didn't expect it to be a prince. That's right, only the prince of the Purple Cloud world would be able to have 4 original infant stage guards by his side. Chapter 1538. Then, his gloomy face was dyed with a bit of high-spirited arrogance. He raised his hand slightly, gesturing for everyone to rise. Then, he strode towards Tai Square. Du Dao, Feng Tian, and the Lingguo College's dean immediately went up. His usually dignified face was now filled with a flattering smile. "Your Highness and the other lords have come from afar. I wonder if you would like to have a meal or rest first. Your Highness, the Starry School has already prepared your room. It's the most luxurious Qianyang Hall in the School of the Emperor Star. I hope you like it." The 11th prince glanced at him as if he was looking at an ant. There was no emotion in his eyes at all. Then, he walked past him without stopping. "What are you waiting for? Lead the way." Du Dao had never been ignored like this before. His face paled and he could not react. But very quickly, he controlled his emotions and quickly followed. "Your Highness, this way please." As Du Dao led the way, he bent his body and tried to get close to the scholar, Li Pengcheng, and the others. However, people from the Purple Cloud world had always looked down on the Azure Blue world. Not to mention those who were born in the royal family. Even if Du Dao was the dean of a college, even if he had nascent soul cultivation. In their eyes, he was nothing more than a clown jumping around to amuse them. Du Dao suppressed the anger in his heart and shamelessly flattered him. He finally figured it out. It turned out that the young man was the very favored 11th prince of the Purple Cloud world, Lan Huahong. The scholar beside the prince was the 11th prince's tutor and confidant, Lan Feng. As for the 3 nascent soul cultivators, they were the 11th prince's personal guards, including the Flowing Moon sect's hall leader, Li Zuping. Du Dao suppressed the grievance in his heart and groveled to please these people. He knew that he had messed up the matter of the evil warding sword. If he could not find another backer or successfully refine the pill, he would definitely die a miserable death. At this moment, the 11th prince suddenly stopped, and his eyes lit up as he looked in a certain direction. Di Yudao hurriedly stopped and said carefully, "Your Highness, do you have any orders?" The young man raised his hand and pointed in a direction. "I want this woman." Di Yudao, Li Zuping, and the rest looked in the direction the young man was pointing, and their expressions changed slightly. Di Yudao's expression changed because the identity of the person that the youth pointed out was too special. Li Zuping and the others sucked in a breath of cold air. This was because the young girl the young man was referring to had an appearance that was far too beautiful and otherworldly. Her beauty was enough to cause the downfall of a city. Even if Li Zuping had many outstanding beauties in the Flowing Moon sect, they were like fireflies in front of the bright moon. There was no way they could compete with each other. It was no wonder that the 11th Highness had taken a liking to this woman as soon as he walked past her. Mu Yan, who is sipping her spirit wine, slowly raises her head. She meets the youth's eyes, which seem gloomy, but in fact hide a trace of greed. She slightly raises her eyebrows. TSK, a 10-year-old boy actually said that he wanted her. Why was this so-called Ziyun royal family so disgusting? The young girl's clear and melodious voice was like the melted snow in the spring dripping onto the dark green bamboo leaves. It was so clear and sweet that it made people yearn to taste more, leaving them with an endless aftertaste. Oh. You want me. Chapter 1539. I am the prince of the Lan royal family of the Ziyun world. As long as you follow me, there will be many benefits for you in the future. The people from the Xiaoyao sect looked at each other. Leng Yumo spat out the fruit in her mouth and said mercilessly, "Where did this lunatic come from? Did he bring his brain with him? If he did, he wouldn't be blind and spout nonsense." The 11th prince, Lan Huahong's expression immediately turned so gloomy that it seemed as if it could drip water at any moment. The two white-bearded old men standing behind him immediately released their powerful auras. In an instant, the surrounding air seemed to be filled with a murderous aura, almost suffocating. Mu Yan slowly put down the cup in her hand. Her expression did not change at all, and she was still smiling. "What if I don't want to?" Lan Huahong squinted and looked down at her, his eyes full of malice. "You don't want to know what happens to you if you offend me." Di Yudao's lips trembled, and he was conflicted. It was not that he wanted to protect Mu Yan, but because of Di Ming. Luo Yunxiao's attitude towards Mu Yan was too special. If he really handed her over, he would not be able to explain himself to the emperor in the future. However, thinking of the current situation, Di Yudao gritted his teeth and said, "Mu Yan, did you hear His Highness's orders? As a student of the Starry School, it is your responsibility to represent the school to receive guests. Now, hurry up and serve His Highness back to his room." "Serve?" Leng Yumo burst out laughing. "Little girl, have you grown all your hair? Is this all you've got? You want my junior sister to serve you? Do you want me to serve you with my fists?" Lan Huahong's eyes widened, and a murderous aura surged out of his body. Yun Ruhan quickly stepped forward and stood in front of Leng Yumo and Mu Yan. He looked at the young man in front of him coldly. As a member of the Ziyun world's royal family, does His Highness want to bully others and do evil? Lan Huahong did not listen to him at all. He raised his hand and was about to order his subordinates to kill him. However, the hand was caught by Lan Feng in midair. "Your Highness, please don't mess around." Lan Feng looked at him with an expression of disapproval. "You're a prince of the Lan imperial family, and you represent the face of the imperial family. How can you act so recklessly?" At the same time, Lan Feng frowned slightly as he looked at his disciple with doubt in his eyes. Back in the imperial palace, Lan Huahong's personality wasn't like this. Why was it that after coming to the Azure Blue Realm, Lan Huahong seemed to have become a completely different person? Not only did he summon several women to sleep with him every day, but his personality also became more and more arrogant and domineering. Lan Huahong's eyes flickered with malice and resentment. He wanted to get angry, but he received Li Zuping's cold gaze. He took a deep breath and fiercely shook off Lan Fang's hand. "Humph, she's just a woman." With that, he flicked his sleeves, turned around and strode away. His actions were like a child throwing a tantrum. But the moment he turned around, his eyes overflowed with a sinister light. It was just a woman. Even if he couldn't get her now, she would fall into his hands sooner or later. Seeing this, Di Yudao wiped the sweat off his forehead. He coldly glared at Mu Yen and promptly followed. Seeing that the people from the Xian world had gone far away, the crowd burst into intense discussion. Chapter 1540. Some people laughed at them for being stupid. Being fancied by the prince of the purple cloud world, yet they did not immediately stick to him. Was there something wrong with their brains? There were also people who took pleasure in their misfortune. This group of people had offended the royal family of the Purple Cloud World and the Hall Master of the Flowing Moon sect. Their days in the future would be very difficult. Mu Yan looked at the direction in which they left, but she could not help but knock her fingers on the table. It was the Flowing Moon sect again. Really, enemies are bound to meet on a narrow road. It seemed that she would not be bored at this Chonglin meeting. Danyang Mountain Range. In the dense forest, the 5 little beans were all in a sorry state. Each of them stood in a different position and stared solemnly in one direction. In the middle of them was an incomparably huge beast. Its size was several times bigger than the 5 little bean sprinters combined. At this time, the beast was letting out a shrill roar, frantically waving its thick arms. The trees that were slapped by it fell with a loud crash, and dust flew. The 5 little bean sprinters looked nervous, but they dodged one by one. Lu Hongyuan, who was the oldest, jumped up the branches from time to time and stabbed the vital parts of the beast with his sword. Finally, the beast let out an unwilling roar and fell down heavily. The 5 little bean sprinters were stunned at first, but when they realized that the beast was really killed by the 5 of them, they immediately let out earth-shattering cheers. "Wow, we really killed a beast, and it's a rank 4 beast. This is all thanks to Boss's teaching during this time. When I go back, I will tell my father that Su Su is too powerful to kill such a big monster. It turns out that Boss is really useful in our training. Boo-hoo, I thought that Boss didn't like us and deliberately made us suffer. Stupid, of course Boss is doing it for our own good. But Boss's training is really scary." The little guys looked at the beast that they had defeated, and their faces were full of pride. But when they thought of Xiaobao's training in the forest these days, they could not help but shudder. When Boss was serious, it was really scary. Every day, they were trained by Boss until they cried. However, when they cried, Boss would double their training. Even the youngest Nailan Yen did not have the slightest preferential treatment. Even so, these little fellows were filled with reverence and gratitude towards Xiaobao. They felt that Boss was so strict with them because he wanted them to become stronger. Only by becoming stronger would he be worthy of being the Boss's lackey. Now, it was proven that Boss was doing this for their own good. In the past, they didn't even dare to approach the rank 2 spirit beasts at home, but now, they could kill a rank 4 spirit beast together. They had truly become stronger. The little guys didn't dig out the inner cores of the fierce beasts. Instead, they each plucked out a fierce beast's tooth as their spoils of war. Then, they swaggered off to find Xiaobao. Nailan Yen, who was the youngest, had short legs and couldn't walk fast. Her brothers were too excited and forgot about her. Nalan Yen held the huge tooth and hurriedly staggered to catch up, but he suddenly tripped over something. The little girl immediately prostrated herself on the ground and fell flat on her face. She immediately burst into tears. Yen Yen, are you all right? Yen, don't cry. Big brother will carry you. Lu Hongyuan and the others immediately rushed over to help Nalan Yen up. Chapter 1541. Yen wants to give it to little brother. It's dirty, hoo. Little brother doesn't like it. Duanzi quickly patted his chest and said, I'll give you my teeth, Yen, don't cry. Nalan Yen smiled through his tears. Just then, a low moan was suddenly heard in the children's ears. The thing that just tripped Nalan Yen suddenly moved, revealing a bloody face from the grass next to him. Aw. Ghost, aw. Boss, save me. Ghost, don't bite my foot, wah. Several little radishes let out ghostly wails and wolf-like howls. A quarter of an hour later. The little radishes shivered and hugged each other, looking at the blood-stained youth in front of them. You really aren't a ghost. The youth was clearly in a sorry state, but his expression and bearing didn't show the slightest weakness. His expression sank when he heard that. Impudent, you dare say that Gu is a ghost? Gu? What is Gu? Is it a very fierce ghost? If you're not a ghost, why are you hiding in the grass to scare Yen? No, Nyungchin said that a shadow isn't a ghost. You see, he has a shadow. Duanzi put his hands on his hips and bluntly said, You say you're not a ghost, then who are you? Why are you hiding in the grass to scare us? Gu is. Halfway through his words, his expression suddenly paused, and then his whole person's spirit dimmed. His murmured voice carried a trace of crying, Gu. I'm worse than a ghost now. Although the youth was young and mature, he was only a child of 11 or 12 years old. Thinking of his experience these days, as well as his bleak and hopeless future, he couldn't hold back his tears anymore, and they fell from his eyes. The little kids didn't expect that this strange brother ghost would start crying as he spoke. They couldn't help but look at each other in dismay. Ghost brother, what's wrong? Did Yen trip you just now? How about Yen blow you? Ghost brother, are you hungry? We have jerky that boss gave us. The youth awkwardly wiped the tears off his face. The environment in which he grew up, as well as this experience, originally he wouldn't easily trust people. However, the cute little faces and clear eyes of the children in front of him made him unknowingly let down his guard. I won't be able to see my mother ever again. I miss my mother. As she spoke, tears once again blurred her eyes. I might not be able to return home in this life. Brother Ghost, were you also caught by the bad guys and brought here? Us too. Su also misses father and mother. But we're not afraid now because we have our boss. That's right, we're going to learn from boss, and we're also going to see boss's most amazing mother. Then, boss will bring us home. Brother Ghost, you can't find mother either. Why don't you come with us? Boss will definitely help you find your mother. Our boss is the most powerful person in the world. The young man felt touched as he listened to the children's chatter. There were many people who surrounded him to flatter him, but those people were all because of his identity. But these children in front of her were different. They didn't even know who she was, but they were so eager to comfort her. However, the young man snorted disdainfully at their most powerful boss. Chapter 1542. Suddenly, a rustling sound came from the bushes not far behind them. Before the little radishes could react, they heard a boorish and sonorous laughter. Your Highness is really too naughty. You actually ran to such a faraway place by yourself. If His Highness really got lost, how are we going to explain it when we get back? The young man, who had relaxed a little because of the comforting words of the little fellows, turned pale in an instant. Lu Hongyuan and the rest turned to look. They saw a gap in the bushes, and then a few men in black clothes walked out. These people did not emit the same cruel and violent aura as the guards of the Fushi formation. But these little fellows had been by Xiaobao's side for a long time, and they had been influenced by what they saw and heard. Now that they saw these people, even though they could not see through their cultivation, and the person who was leading them showed a gentle and kind smile, they instinctively trembled in fear. The man who was leading the black clothes glanced at the young boy and landed on Lu Hongyuan and the rest. He smiled lightly. "Oh, so His Highness has made new friends here. That's great. This way, His Highness will not be bored, and I can rest assured." The young boy's face changed. He took a big step forward and blocked Lu Hongyuan and the rest. He said loudly, "Let them go, I'll go with you." The man in black clothes' eyes flashed with excitement. He waved his hand behind him. Someone immediately stepped forward and grabbed the young boy's shoulder and pulled him to his side. Murong Hao, who was the closest, immediately rushed forward and mercilessly gathered his spiritual energy to attack. "Brother Gue is our friend. Don't bully our friend." "That's right. How can an adult bully a child? Shameless." The little kids bared their fangs and claws and pounced forward. However, they were no match for this group of people. Soon, they were all knocked down on the ground with bruises all over their faces. Nalan Yen, who was the youngest among them, started crying. "Little brother, save me. Someone is beating me." Sob, sob, sob. The young boy's face twisted in anger. He struggled with all his might. "Lu Kuan, you bastard. I order you to let them go immediately. Do you hear me?" Lu Kuan laughed and slowly walked forward. He grabbed the crying Nalan Yen and put his hand on her slender neck. "Yen Yen. Quickly let go of Yen Yen." Lu Kuan looked at the youth with a smile, like a kind elder looking at his grandson, but there was a cruel glint in his eyes. "Your Highness, hand over the things on you, and I will let these little bastards live. How about it?" The young man's face paled, and he gritted his teeth as he shouted angrily, "Stop dreaming, I will never hand over the soul orb to you." Lu Kuan's face sank as he sneered, "Your Highness is so disobedient. You must have been led astray by those brats. Men, chop off the hands and feet of these little bastards for me. Teach His Highness how to be an obedient child. Lu Kuan, don't you dare." The young man roared in anger. Lu Kuan laughed heartily, "Your Highness, let's see if I dare." As he spoke, he tightened his grip on Nalan Yan's neck. Chapter 1543. The black-clad men closed in on Lu Hongyuan and the rest. Only then did Lu Hongyuan and the others realize what kind of danger they were facing. They were so scared that their faces turned pale. Don't come any closer. If you dare touch us, boss will not let you go." Sob, "I don't want to die. I don't want Yen Yen and the rest to die. Boss, come and save us." Wah! Nalan Yen was barely breathing and the rest of the boy's hands and feet were on the edge of a knife. The boy's eyes were red and he kept shouting. "Stop! Stop! I told you to stop. Did you hear me?" Lu Kuan shook the body of the dying girl in his hand and smiled proudly. "Your Highness, you must remember that your friends died because you refused to hand over the soul beads." As he spoke, he was about to break Nalan Yan's neck. "I'll hand it over. I'll give you the soul orb." The boy shed tears of humiliation and despair. "As long as you let them go." Lu Kuan's face was filled with joy. He flung the unconscious Nalan Yen to the side and quickly walked towards the young man. "Your Highness, please hand over the soul orb." After so many days of struggle, he could finally complete the task given to him by the Hall Master. He would obtain the soul orb and then kill the boy. That would be a great achievement. He would definitely be successful in the future. The boy slowly took off his clothes and circulated the spiritual power in his body. Not long after, the faint shadow of a huge white beast appeared behind him. The beast's appearance could not be seen clearly, but it had a pair of blood-red horns. There was a dazzling white dot on the boy's back. It was like a dazzling pearl embedded in the boy's body. Soul orb. Bei's soul orb. Lu Kuan's eyes widened when he saw the white beast and the white dot on the boy's body. His hands trembled as he took out a dark red dagger that reeked of blood. He stabbed it into the boy's shoulder. The boy let out a blood-curdling scream the moment the dagger entered his body. The pain of his flesh and bones being torn apart and the burning sensation of his blood vessels being corroded caused his entire face to contort in pain. Sweat instantly spread across his entire body. Lu Kuan turned a blind eye to the young man's pain and became more and more agitated. Bit by bit, it cut the young man's flesh, trying to dig out the shiny pearl from the young man's body. Lu Hongyuan and the others were dumbfounded by what they saw. Then, they became furious. Brother Ghost had suffered so much in order to save them. As the underlings of their boss, they were men of indomitable spirit. How could they let their friends sacrifice for them? "Ah, old scoundrel, we'll kill you. Don't hurt our friends." The little bean sprays fearlessly pounced forward. Because Lu Kuan was caught off guard, Murong Hao hugged his legs and bit him on the thigh. Lu Kuan's hand paused in pain. Lu Hongyuan immediately rolled over with the boy in his arms and landed in the grass nearby. Lu Kuan stared at the kids viciously and kicked Murong Hao, who was hugging his leg. Murong Hao's face was covered in blood from the kick, and he began to cry loudly. "Ouch! Sob, 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 boss, save me." Chapter 1544. But since you don't know what's good for you, then I'll send you on your way. Once a soul orb appears, it will not disappear for an hour. Now, these little brats who can threaten His Highness are naturally useless. If it wasn't for the fact that soul orbs can only appear when activated by royalty, Lu Kuan would not have kept the young boy alive for so long. Now that the soul orb is in his hands, so, all of you can die. With a loud bang, a meteor hammer appeared in Lu Kuan's hands. The meteor hammer was initially only the size of a fist, but after Lu Kuan threw it, it became bigger and bigger. Finally, it became a shadow the size of a small mountain, smashing towards the children. If this hit the stone, the children will definitely become a pile of meat paste. Ah! The children screamed, hugged their heads, and let out a cry of despair. But, one breath passed, 2 breaths passed, and the expected pain did not come. The little radishes raised their heads in a daze and looked up. They saw that the huge meteor hammer was less than 3 meters above them, swaying and swaying. And the thing that stopped the meteor hammer was a tattered, unremarkable long sword. But, when the little radishes saw the long sword, they could not help but cheer. "Wow, it's Brother Sword, it's Boss. Boss is here to save us. Sob, 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 Boss, the bad guys hit me, it hurts so much. Boss beat the bad guys. Brother Ghost, don't be afraid. Boss is here, we are safe. Boss can even defeat such a big monster." The young boy raised his head, trying to find the unparalleled hero in the sky, the tall and sturdy high-leveled cultivator. But, after looking for a long time, he did not even see a shadow. Then, the meteor hammer shrunk and flew back into Lu Kuan's hands. The flying sword slowly descended, and landed in the hands of a beautiful little boy who did not look like a mortal. The young boy was completely confused. This is the unparalleled hero boss that the little radishes talked about. Why is it a 5 or 6-year-old kid? Lu Kuan's meteor hammer was blocked by someone, so he was originally shocked. However, when he saw the little boy slowly walking out, he couldn't help but reveal a contemptuous smile. So it's another little brat coming to die. But when she saw the sword in his hand, her eyes lit up. What sword is that? To be able to block my meteor hammer, it must be at least a 9th grade spirit weapon. He, such a treasure falling into the hands of a little kid like you is really a reckless waste of God's gift. So he didn't mind killing these little brats and seizing their treasures along with their soul orbs. Xiao Bao slowly raised his head and swept his gaze over the little radish head whose face was covered in snot and tears. He spat out 2 words, shameful. How could a man cry all the time? The key was that these little crybabies were actually his, Jun Machen's, underlings. If he brought it to his mother and father, wouldn't he lose face? This won't do. I still have to train properly. The little radishes shrunk their necks, and for some reason, they felt a chill run down their spine. They had a bad premonition. But soon, they immediately raised their little fists and shouted, "Boss is mighty, boss is the best." Chapter 1545. Xiao Bao looked at Lu Kuan and the man in black and waved the Bixia sword in his hand. Who told you to attack my little brother? Lu Kuan felt an inexplicable chill down his spine when he met those deep blue eyes. He felt like he was being stared at by the sect master of Flow Moon sect. The feeling of being oppressed and wanting to submit was even stronger than when he was facing the sect master. Who was this little boy? He was just a 5-year-old boy. How could he have such a terrifying aura? Lu Kuan took a deep breath and told himself that he was just a kid. So what if his aura was fierce? How strong could he be? He was a high-level gold core cultivator. How could he not be able to deal with a kid? Lu Kuan grinned. Kid, hand over the sword in your hand and I might leave you with a whole corpse. The sword in the boy's hand gave him a strange feeling. He couldn't wait to take it for himself. Xiao Bao looked at the Bixia sword in his hand. You want my sword? Okay, I'll give it to you. With that, the Bixia sword in his hand flew straight at Lu Kuan. Lu Kuan looked greedy and reached out to catch it. But the next moment, the Bixia sword turned into thousands of sword shadows. Before Lu Kuan could react, the thousands of sword shadows pierced through his body. Puff! Puff! Blood splattered everywhere. Lu Kuan's eyes widened. He looked at his body that was riddled with holes and fell heavily. Before he died, he heard a loud voice. Noose's noisy voice resounded in his ears. Ha 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 ha. You want me? Do you think you're worthy? Shameless idiot. How dare you bully a group of kids and my master's little brother? My Bixia sword will teach you a lesson. Lu Kuan's pupils shrank. His eyes gradually lost focus and stared at the sword hovering in the air. Bixia. Bixia. It was the Bixia sword. Wasn't that the magical weapon that Master Ho, whom Flow Moon sect was loyal to, wanted by all means? Master Ho had not been able to get his hands on the Bixia sword for decades. Why did it appear in the hands of this kid? However, Lu Kuan would never know the answer in his life. He was Bixia. Amid Nash's loud laughter, he breathed his last breath unwillingly. When the black-clothed people saw that their boss had stopped breathing, they immediately turned pale with fright. All of them wanted to flee in panic. Xiao Bao waved his hand, and the Bixia sword returned to his hand. The sword chi was magnificent, and it shook the mountains and rivers. The young man was dumbfounded. He didn't come back to his senses even after the last man in black fell to the ground. He felt a burning pain from the corroded wound on his back. Meanwhile, the little radish head at the side was already cheering loudly. Wow, 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 boss is too amazing. The boss is mighty. Long live the boss. Scoundrel, scoundrel. How dare you hit us? I'm going to kick you to death. Little Bao slowly walked over to Lu Kuan and the black-clothed man. He picked up all of their storage items before looking at his cheap little brother. He frowned and coldly said, "Too noisy." The little guys immediately covered their mouths and made a shushing gesture to the people next to them. The youth couldn't help but ask in a trembling voice, "You, who exactly are you?" Chapter 1546. The youth can be unruly in front of others, putting on a high and mighty attitude. But facing the little boy in front of him, he doesn't know why, but his imposing manner is inexplicably reduced by half. Goo! A few little radish heads immediately jumped out and chattered, "This is our boss, Jun Machin, our savior. Now that boss has also saved you, he will be your boss in the future. Quickly greet him as boss." The youth hesitantly says, "Boss, boss." Xiao Bao frowns. "Why is there another trouble?" "Don't call me boss." Xiao Bao says with a straight face, "Tell me first, who are you?" Being told, "Don't call me boss," the youth unexpectedly feels a chill in his heart, especially disappointed. The little turnips immediately say, "Brother Ghost, quickly tell us who you are." Yes, yes, quickly take the initiative to tell 18 generations of your ancestors, or boss won't want you anymore. In front of these little guys just now, the youth didn't even think of telling his true identity. He doesn't know why, facing this awe-inspiring and beautiful little boy in front of him, he doesn't want to hide at all. He stumbles, "I am Lan Huahong, I'm the 11th prince of the Lan Empire of Xian Realm. At the foot of the Danyang mountain range. In a remote path, a woman in ragged clothes, covered with scars, is fleeing in panic. From time to time, there are hurried footsteps and shouts behind her, making the woman's footsteps more and more disorderly, and the expression on her face more and more frightened. Suddenly, her feet slip, and she falls directly from a high place. A cry of alarm overflows from her mouth, attracting the attention of the pursuers. But when these people catch up to this position and look around, they can't find the slightest shadow. After persisting for half an hour, these people finally leave unwillingly. After the pursuers disappear, the woman crawls out of a hidden cave. She sees that all the nails on her hands and feet have been peeled off, and her 10 fingers are dripping with blood. There are wounds all over her body, and the wounds are smeared with honey that can't be washed off. Just hiding in the cave for a while, the wounds are already crawling with insects and ants. The woman cries and desperately pats herself, her face distorted. "I won't die here. I won't die like this. Yi Liang Qin, Jun Mu Yen. Lu Ruo. I haven't even taken revenge on these bitches. How can I just die here like this?" Suddenly, she heard Mei Xian's voice. But this time, Mei Xian was no longer as charming and calm as she usually was. Instead, she looked weak and exasperated. "Bah, if you weren't so useless, I wouldn't have suffered so much with you. If I hadn't used the last bit of my primordial spirit to charm the subordinates of the Zhu mansion, I would have been killed by you." As she spoke, Mei Xian's voice became filled with evil and greed. "Lu Ruo. Now it's time for you to repay me. Lu Ruo." His heart skipped a beat, and a look of panic appeared on his face. What do you want?" Mei Xian smiled evilly and said, "Although I'm not very satisfied with your body, my divine soul has been greatly damaged. Only by occupying a body can I slowly recover. Chapter 1547. You want to possess me? She screamed, "No, don't. I will find a man for you. I will fix it for you, please let me go, ha ha ha, LoveLore. Take a look at yourself now. Would there still be a man who would like you?" LoveLore. His body had suffered inhuman torture in the Zhu family. At this moment, half of the skin on her face had been peeled off, and the other half was bruised. There was not a single part of her body that was unscathed. It could be said that her current appearance was even more terrifying than that of a malicious spirit. Not to mention seducing men, even if she appeared in front of people, she would be screamed and chased away. LoveLore. Her body was trembling uncontrollably, and her eyes were filled with intense hatred. She became like this because of Yi Liangqin and the bewitching heart in her body. Mei Axan said softly, "But as long as I devour your divine soul and fuse them together, I can naturally repair this body and even change your appearance. He, don't worry. I'll definitely avenge you once I take over your body." After saying that, Mei Axan suddenly released a strong killing intent. The killing intent was like a giant beast, biting Lu Ruoxiang. His divine soul. Ah! Letting out a blood-curdling scream, his eyes rolled back, he fainted on the ground. His body began to twitch uncontrollably. However, in reality, the two souls were fighting fiercely within her body. Although Mei Axan was now a remnant soul, she used to be a tribulation stage cultivator. Even if she was just a remnant soul, her strength could not be underestimated. So, very soon, Lu Ruochen was in a daze. Mei Axan's divine soul had the upper hand in his sea of soul. As for LoveLore, his soul, on the other hand, had been bitten by Mei Axan and torn to pieces, becoming extremely broken. LoveLore. In the beginning, he would struggle with all his might and curse, but as time went on, his voice became softer and softer, and the aura of his divine soul also became fainter and fainter. Mei Axan felt the abundant soul power in her body and looked at Lu Ruochen. The remnant soul that had been devoured was trembling with excitement. Soon, very soon, she would be able to break away from the state of this remnant soul, have a body, and make a comeback. With her seductive methods, she would definitely be able to rebuild the Acacia Palace and play with all the men in the world. Just at this moment, Lu Ruochen's expression changed. Suddenly, wisps of red smoke that were so faint that they were almost invisible emerged from the remnant soul, but they disappeared in a flash. Mei Axan did not take it to heart. She rushed over and bit Lu Ruoxiang. He swallowed the remaining soul essence. However, in the next moment, her soul trembled violently and she let out a shrill scream. Then, countless wisps of red smoke were emitted from her divine soul. It was as if thousands of sharp swords were directly cutting her divine soul into pieces. Mei Axan said incredulously, "No, it's impossible. This is the power of the ancient, fate-snatching. How could she be?" However, before she could finish speaking, Mei Axan was completely engulfed by the red smoke. This time, she was gone forever. In the most luxurious Qianyang Hall of the School of the Emperor Star, the 11th Prince, Lan Huahong, exuded an intense aura of hostility. Lan Huahong watched as Lan Feng walked out of the sleeping quarters. His eyes were filled with killing intent. "Sooner or later, I will dismember this old fart who takes advantage of his seniority." Chapter 1548. Now that you haven't gotten the soul bead, you'd better restrain yourself. If Lan Feng sees through you in advance, the Marquis will never let you go. Lan Huahong shuddered and lowered his head, not daring to say anything. But his eyes flashed with resentment. At this moment, Diudeo's voice came from outside the door. Your Highness, I have a gift for your Highness. Come in. The door to the room opened and Diudao walked in with a smile on his face. Behind him were two beautiful girls. Their cultivation base was about the 5th or 6th level of Anidia. Their almond-shaped eyes were curved and their eyebrows were full of love. Diudao saw Lan Huahong's pair of greedy and lustful eyes constantly looking at the girls. His lips curled up and he became more respectful. Your Highness, just now I didn't teach them well and let those blind students offend you. These two students are the elites of our Heavenly Jade branch. They are very fond of your Highness. When they heard that they can serve you, they were really happy. When the two girls heard this, they immediately moved forward. One of them used Lan Huahong's thigh as a pillow, while the other used her full chest to press against his arm. They softly shouted, Your Highness, let us serve you. They were really willing to serve Lan Huahong. As long as they thought that this was the Prince of the Purple Cloud world, if they could follow him back, they would definitely be successful. What was there to be unwilling about? Lan Huahong's face showed a look of enjoyment, looking at Diudao softly. You did very well. I will remember your benefits. Diudao was wild with joy, bowed and left. Lan Feng returned after finishing his business, but found that Lan Huahong's door was locked, and from time to time there was a woman's low laughter coming from inside. His face suddenly became gloomy, and he was about to force his way in when he was interrupted by Li Zuping. Lord Lan, why are you so harsh on your Highness? The young man has just started, it's normal for him to indulge a little. Lan Feng knitted his brows tightly. His Highness is a prince of the Lan family empire, and represents the face of the imperial family. His Majesty and Her Imperial Majesty handed His Highness over to me to discipline, so how could I allow him to degenerate like this? Li Zuping chuckled, aren't you not in the Purple Cloud world now? His Highness came out to relax, what's the big deal? If Lord Lan doesn't know what's good for him, I'm afraid you'll be detested by His Highness. Lan Feng's complexion alternated between green and white. In the end, he flicked his sleeves and left. Li Zuping looked at his back as he left and heard the obscene words coming from the room. He was disgusted. A fake is a fake. However, he was an indispensable part of Master Ho's plan. Humph, how could he be allowed to continue? For a few days. Oh right. He looked at his subordinates and asked in a low voice, is there any news from Lu Kuan? The subordinate shook his head in fear. Trash, you can't even do such a small thing. Without the soul orb, I'll be exposed sooner or later. Before he could finish, the bell on Li Zuping's waist suddenly rang. Li Zuping lowered his head to look at the bell that was emitting a dark red glow. His eyes widened in excitement. What soul bead? What 11th prince? They were all thrown to the back of his mind. He casually instructed his subordinates before flying out of the bedroom and disappearing into the Danyang mountain range. Chapter 1549. However, looking at the light emitted by the bell, Li Zuping revealed a look of disappointment. It's not the child of destiny, just the medicinal catalyst of the magnificent quicksand. Humph, but it's fine, at least I can report to Tianyi Men. And it's only the first day in the Azure Blue world, and I found the child of destiny, maybe I can find it soon. Li Zuping grabbed Lu Ruochen and left. They left quickly. The next day, the most important event of the Jasper Forest Gathering, the Three Academies tournament, officially began. The entire Tai Square was already crowded with people even before the start of the competition. During this time, whether it was the rumor that the Ziyun Realm's nobleman was coming to participate in the Jasper Forest Gathering, or the birth of the Master of the Azure Blue World, it made the people of the Azure Blue World focus their attention on the Three Academies. Therefore, the number of people who came to watch this Jasper Forest Gathering was simply innumerable. Fortunately, Tai Square was not an ordinary square, but a virtual treasure, so it could accommodate so many people without feeling crowded. At this moment, the entire audience was in an uproar. Everyone was enthusiastically discussing. This year's Jasper Forest gathering is really grand. People from all the sects and families have come to participate. Look, it's the Hunyuan sect master, Silver Feather Palace master, my god, and the Golden Cauldron sect master. Oh my, it's all the top leaders of the sections. What's wrong with that? Look at the 8 aristocratic families: Murong family, Duan family, Nalan family, Lu family, Feng family. All of them are family leaders. Damn, it's true. Not only the family leaders, even the mistresses of the various families have come. Isn't this a little too grand? What on earth is this year's Jasper Forest gathering? I heard that it's because the Ziyun realm's nobleman has come. The top leaders of these aristocratic families and sects are all here to accompany the nobleman. Someone pointed at a small house at the highest point of Tai Square. Look, the nobleman is in that house. That small house, in the entire Tai Square, was very eye-catching. Such special treatment, even the 3 academies' deans did not have. What was even more amazing was that the guards around the small house, wearing the same uniform, were all at least in the gold core stage. The person who asked the question sucked in a breath of cold air. Just what kind of noble is this, to have such a grand show of extravagance, and even have the reputable figures of our Azure Blue realm come out? Sure, it said that he's from the royal family of the Ziyun realm. Coming to this Jasper Forest conclave is precisely because I heard of the birth of the Azure Cloud Lord and specially came to select talents. But I heard that the Master of Azure Sky, Great God Yi, didn't participate in the Tri-Academy tournament at all. So isn't the opportunity for the other contestants here? As long as I'm chosen by the nobles of the Purple Cloud realm and brought back, will I still have to worry about not having the opportunity to make a meteoric rise? In the small house in Tai Square, others could not see the 11th Prince Lan Huahong, but Lan Huahong could feel the envious gazes from the surrounding people. He put his hands on the handle and leaned against the back of the chair. He looked down at the crowd with a smug expression on his face. That's right, this is the feeling. This feeling of being high above the masses and stepping on others as though they were ants was just too great. He would definitely grab hold of this opportunity firmly, and definitely would not let anyone snatch everything away from him. Chapter 1550. The rules of the Tri-Academy tournament were very simple. A high platform slowly rose from the center of Tai Square as soon as the tournament was announced. Both teams would compete on the high platform, with a time limit of 2 hours. Being knocked off the high platform during the battle would be considered eliminated. Fainting for more than 10 minutes would be considered eliminated. Elimination or fainting would be considered a failure. After 2 hours, the team with the most members remaining on the high platform would win. The opening match of the Tri-Academy tournament was between the previous champion, Team Phoenix Heavenly Kings, and the host team, Team Star Alioth. Upon hearing the name list, everyone observed a moment of silence for Team Star Alioth. There was no suspense in this match. Sure enough, in less than the time for an incense stick to burn, all the members of the Stellar Jade Alioth team were swept off their horses. Team Alioth's formation master and zither player, who were assisting, did not even have time to deploy their treasures before they were knocked out by a single slash. However, the most shocking thing was not Team Monarch's quick victory. It was that they had only sent out 4 people for this battle. With just 4 people, they had completely wiped out Team Alioth, a team that had made it to the second round last year. Tai Square was dead silent, before bursting into enthusiastic cheers. Phoenix Heavenly Kings! Phoenix Heavenly Kings! Phoenix Heavenly Kings! The 10 members of the Phoenix Heavens Monarchs stood on the high platform with their hands behind their backs. Their graceful bearing made them look like undefeatable gods of war, inspiring fear in the hearts of others and making them look up to them. The sweet-looking female cultivator in charge immediately walked up to the stage and excitedly congratulated them on their victory. This was the process of every Cheonglin gathering. Popular teams would be interviewed before and after the tournament. After congratulating them, the female cultivator immediately asked, "I wonder which teams will you be paying attention to in the upcoming Tri-Academy tournament? Will you be paying attention to Team Star Tianshu and Team Lingwu Xiongba?" The leader of Phoenix Heavenly Kings was naturally Phoenix Heavenly Kings number 1, Lu Jinhang. He had a tall and slender figure. His looks could only be considered average, but he had a pair of sharp starry eyes. Even when he was expressionless, he gave off an arrogant feeling. Hearing the female cultivator's question, Lu Jinhang raised his eyebrows and scanned the entire Tai Square. He said faintly, "In the eyes of Phoenix Heavenly Kings, the other teams are merely defeated by us. What's there to pay attention to?" The female cultivator's expression froze, unable to say a word. On the spectator's stand, the female cultivator's expression froze and she could not say a word. This Phoenix Heaven King, this Lu Jinhang, was simply too arrogant. But Lu Jinhang's tone changed and his voice suddenly rose a few octaves. "If there's anyone that we, the Phoenix Heaven Kings, would view as an opponent, then it's only Azure Sky ruler Yi Liangqin." He raised his hand and pointed towards the sky, and he spoke in a heroic manner. "Yi Liangqin, I admit that I lost to you in climbing the Ascensio rankings. However, we, Team Monarch, will not lose this Tri-Campus tournament. If you have the guts, stop hiding. Come out and fight me, Lu Jinhang, alone." Because there was no carefree teams match today, Mayan and her senior and junior brothers slept until late in the morning before coming to Tai Square to watch the tournament. Because there's no match for the carefree team today, Mayan and her fellow apprentices sleep until late in the morning before they run over to Tai Square to watch the match. Chapter 1551. The entire Tai Square was filled with shouts that sounded like a tsunami. The people from the Starry School and the Fengtian School were in a heated argument. Mu Yen blinked. Did she wake up in the wrong way? She hadn't done anything recently. Why did he drag her down again? Who did she offend? On the high platform, the hosting female cultivator could barely maintain her stiff smile. She was also a student of Starry School and could not bear to hear Lu Jinhang humiliate her school. But as the host, she could not show it. She could only grit her teeth and look at a cold-faced youth at the side. "Student, I don't think I've seen you in the last Cheonglin gathering. May I know your name, young warrior?" The youth said expressionlessly, "Chinijo." The hosting female cultivator was stunned, then said in surprise, "You're the rumored top genius of the Qingyun world, Chinijo." As a cultivator from the lower world, he was the top student in Phoenix Sky School, where geniuses gathered. He was even selected as a member of Phoenix Sky's strongest team kings to participate in the Tri-School tournament. The name Chinijo could be considered somewhat famous in the Azure Blue world. Just now, in the match against Yuhing team, Chinijo had been one of the 4 people who had attacked. His sword style was clean, and full of vigor. It was impossible for people to imagine that this was a wandering Xiao who had learned by himself from a small corner of the world. But hearing this, Chinijo looked coldly at the hosting female cultivator, then replied clearly, word by word, "You're too ignorant. I'm not the top genius of the Qingyun world." The true top genius was Jun Mayan, who had beaten him to a pulp in the Qingyun world sect examination. The hosting female cultivator's expression froze again. She felt that she could no longer talk to the team kings. Lu Jinhang waved his hand, and the team kings immediately leaped and left Tai Square. Just as they said, they did not pay attention to the other team's matches. Because no team had the qualifications to be a match for their Phoenix Heaven's Kings. Mu Yan looked in the direction they left from below the stage and could not help but smile. Chinijo, it's been a long time. The swordsman who had challenged her openly in the sect examination points competition had left a deep impression on her. Although she won in the end, she had to use her domain to win by a narrow margin. As for Chinijo, he had already been recruited by the Leaf Fire sect, but because she had exposed the ugly side of the Leaf Fire sect, Chinijo had rejected the Leaf Fire sect's invitation. He was a righteous, kind, and pure young swordsman. She didn't expect him to actually come to the Phoenix Sky Academy. With Feng Tian team's outstanding performance, the first elimination round was rather lackluster. Even Constellation's Tianshu Courtyard and Lingwu's Mighty Tyrant team did not display their powerful abilities. Instead, they eliminated their opponents according to the rules. There were a total of 21 teams participating in the first elimination round. One of the teams would draw a bye, and the remaining 20 teams would have to hold 10 matches. Naturally, it would be impossible to finish in one day. Mu Yan's Carefree team's match was scheduled for the first match of the next day. Xing Chen Carefree vs Lingwu Celestial Sea. This time, there weren't many people in the stands. I recall that Team Tianhai didn't even make it past the first elimination round, right? Chapter 1552. Hahaha, Team Heaven Sea won their first match without a fight. Is Team Carefree that bad? What? Haven't you seen Master Xian Hai's ranking? There are only 7 people in Team Carefree, and quite a few of them haven't even reached the peak of Anidia. I'm guessing that today's match will end even faster than yesterday's match between King and Yuheng. I've already placed a bet on the outcome of this match. I've bet everything I have on Team Sky Sea winning. Me too, me too. It's just a pity that everyone knows that Team Carefree will lose. The odds aren't high. The female host announced the start of the match. The members of Team Heaven Sea immediately jumped down from the stands and landed on the platform. They were wearing the same uniform, and their movements were identical. This immediately caused many cheers from the stands, especially those from Spirit Martial Academy. Especially the people from the Spiritual and Martial Arts Academy, they all shouted, "Spiritual and Martial Arts Academy will win." The members of Team Heaven Sea all had confident smiles on their faces. When the name list for the first match was announced, they received many people's envy and jealousy. Everyone knew that Team Carefree was the weakest in Team Heaven Sea. They had regretted not entering the second round last year, and had been ridiculed by their fellow students for a long time. This time, they could finally hold their heads up high. Team Heaven Sea had appeared, but Team Carefree had yet to appear. The female host shouted again, "The match begins. Team Carefree, please step onto the stage." However, there was still no one coming up. Pfft, don't tell me they're too afraid to come up. That's very possible. Rather than being beaten up on the stage and embarrassing themselves, it's better to forfeit. The female host frowned and said loudly, "I'll count to 3. If Team Carefree doesn't step onto the stage by then, it will be considered as forfeiting." Before she could finish her words, she saw 7 figures scurrying up the stage like lightning. However, other than the most beautiful girl, the rest of them looked a little disheveled. "Hoo-hoo, we finally made it in time." Luo Yu buttoned up her clothes and patted her chest with lingering fear. Yun Ruhan said unhappily, "You still have the cheek to say that. How can you wake up so late on a day like this?" Eldest senior brother, it's as if you didn't wake up late. Leng Yuma rolled her eyes. "If it wasn't for little junior sister calling us, we would have definitely missed the time." Last night, Mayan had been cultivating and refining pills for the whole night, forgetting the time for a while. Then they would really be fulfilling Master Xianhai's prophecy, they would be the last. Yun Ruhan blushed. In any case, we can't be late again. Luo Yu curled her lips. This is all fourth senior sister's fault. Of all the matches she could have drawn, she actually drew the first match. We couldn't even sleep in. Do you want to die? How dare you blame me? Do you believe that I won't skin you alive? Ling Yuxing yawned and said, I'm awake. Don't be noisy. Let's finish this quickly so that we can go back and take a nap. Their voices weren't loud, but anyone with a cultivation base could hear them clearly. Team Sky C's members had ashen expressions, as if they had been greatly humiliated. The people in the stands couldn't help but laugh. They actually overslept in such an important Tri-Academy tournament. I think they don't think they can win at all. Chapter 1553. Team Heaven C, eliminate them as soon as possible. Hearing the cheers of the spectators, Team Heaven C regained their composure and pride. We won't bully you with numbers. The leader of Team Heaven C waved his hand with a magnanimous look. Since you have 7 people, we will only send out 7 people too. With that, 3 of them immediately took a step back and stood in a corner, looking at Mu Yan's team with disdain. The people in the stands immediately gave Team Tianhai a warm round of applause. Good job, Team Heaven C. This is the style of the strong. Against such a weak team, Team Heaven C only needs 7 people. It's more than enough. The students of the Spiritual Martial Arts College felt even more proud. They had thought that such a seemingly modest but actually humiliating action would infuriate Team Xiaoyao. Who knew that they would immediately nod like chicks pecking at rice? Good, good, good. It's great that we can fight 3 less. Thank you, thank you. The leader of Team Heaven C was so angry that he almost fainted. With a cold expression, he waved his sleeves. Attack! The next moment, the flying swords of the 7 members of Team Heaven C simultaneously exploded with powerful spiritual energy, attacking Mu Yan's team. The swords flickered with cold light. The spectators all revealed shocked expressions. Some of the weaker ones had to cover their eyes to prevent themselves from being dazzled. I didn't expect Team Heaven C to be so strong this year. Yeah, with the power of this sword matrix, I don't think they will be at a disadvantage even against other teams. Looks like today's match will really end even faster than yesterday's first match. In the arena, Mu Yan slowly sat down and started plucking the strings. The melodious sound of the guqin surrounded the high platform. It was silent and pervasive. Look, Team Xiaoyao has indeed given up struggling. It's fine if they don't counterattack, but there's actually someone playing the guqin. That should be Jun Mu Yan. I heard that she's the strongest support among the freshmen of the Starry School this year. She went to the Arcade branch by accident. Now that she's playing the guqin, it should be to increase the battle power of her teammates. What a joke. Even if they increase their battle power, they want to defeat Team Heaven C with just 5 kids who haven't even reached the peak of an idiot and a cripple. How is that possible? You can't just let them struggle on their deathbed. However, almost no one noticed that as the sound of the zither lingered, the speed of the flying swords began to slow down, and the spiritual power surrounding the swords began to dissipate. Luo Yu and Ling Yuxing looked at each other, then raised their hands and began to move. Many people in the audience were still praising Team Tianhai and ridiculing Mayan's group. Suddenly, several clanging sounds came from the stage. The long swords that were originally whistling through the air dropped to the ground one by one. What? What's going on? Why did the flying sword fall to the ground? I don't know. What just happened? Ling Yuxing and Luo Yu raised their hands, and the 7 colorless threads and the 7 thumb-sized puppets flew into their hands. Team Sky C stared blankly at this scene. They had no idea what was going on. Qin Jiao had already rushed over. Before they could react, she had already circled around each of them. Those who were weaker were unable to resist Qin Jiao's kick and were kicked off the platform. Chapter 1554. It wasn't that Team Heaven C didn't want to resist, but the zither music that lingered in their ears made their bodies feel heavy and their spiritual energy stagnant. They couldn't resist at all. When the 7 of them were done, they looked at the 3 who had retreated and chuckled. Are you going to go down yourself, or do you want us to throw you down? Second senior brother, why don't you show them? Qin Jiao clenched his fists and squatted down, casually throwing a punch at the viewing platform. With a loud bang, a small pit was smashed into the hard granite stone, and there were also fine cracks that spread out like a spider web. Qin Jiao stood up, clenching his fists as he looked at the 3 remaining members of Team Heaven C. The 3 of them turned pale with fright and jumped off the platform without hesitation. The viewing platform was deathly silent. Many people still had blank looks on their faces. Just, what had happened? Finally, the members of Team Heaven C who had been thrown down snapped out of their daze. Their faces contorted as they cursed, "You guys are shameless. You cheated." Luo Yu looked down at them from above, her eyes curving into crescents when she smiled. Her dimples were faintly discernible, making her look indescribably cute. How did we cheat? You guys were willing to fight 7 on 7. We didn't force you. It's that zither music. The leader of Team Heaven C pointed at Mayan and shouted angrily, "You tampered with the zither music and knocked down our flying swords. You even made us unable to move. Otherwise, how could we have lost?" Luo Yu crossed her arms and said proudly, "That's right. 6th senior sister is our strongest support. What's so strange about her zither music slowing down your flying swords? Is there a rule against using support in the competition?" Team Heaven C was instantly dumbfounded. The female cultivator in charge slowly walked up the stage and looked at Mu Yan and the others with a strange and complicated expression. She then announced, the 6th match of the first round, Lingwu Tianhai vs Stellar Carefree. The winner is Carefree Team. The viewing platform was completely silent. Today's match had indeed broken the record set by the Phoenix Heaven King vs Xingqian Jade Alioth. However, the winner wasn't Team Heaven C, but Team Carefree, who had been predicted to be the weakest. The female cultivator forced a smile and said, "Student Mayan, was it you who used your zither to knock down Team Tianhai's sword in the competition just now? I've seen zither masters who can assist in cultivation, but I've never seen a zither master who can use skills like yours." Mu Yan smiled faintly and said, "Then let everyone experience it." The corners of the hosting female cultivator's mouth twitched. "Are you all surprised by the result of today's match? What do you think the Carefree team will achieve in the Tri-Academy tournament?" Mu Yan lightly raises her eyebrows, her rippling peach blossom eyes sparkling with life. Her already devastatingly beautiful face becomes even more captivating. "Since we've come to participate in this competition, we naturally only have one goal." As she said that, she slowly extended a finger and shook it lightly. "Who else but us can be the champion?" The face of the female cultivator in charge instantly stiffened. In the stands, the Xiuzha who had been stunned by her appearance, after they reacted to what she had said, they instantly burst into a storm of discussion and cursing. "What did she just say? Champion? I didn't hear wrong, right? Ha ha ha, a mere 7-man team defeated Team Heaven C with crafty schemes, yet she thinks that she can become the champion. I think she's crazy, right?" Chapter 1555. In the special seats in the stands, Lan Huahong looked at Jun Mayan on the stage, licked his lips, and said in a deep voice, "I must get my hands on this woman. After the competition is over, think of a way to get her for me. The two nascent Soul Realm elders glanced at him and didn't say anything. Li Zuping stared at the guqin in Mu Yan's hands, confusion in his eyes. The aura the guqin gave off seemed a bit strange. At the place where the dean of the top 3 schools sat, Yu Dao stared at Mu Yan coldly as if his eyes were dipped in poison, his hands gripping the back of the chair tightly. Li Wenyuan, the college chief of the spiritual martial arts school, who was sitting at the side, said with a tinge of anger, "College Chief Shai, the Starry School has produced another ambitious young man. Our Lingwu Tianhai team has lost wholeheartedly." Yu Dao's face darkened and he didn't say anything. He didn't even care about Li Wenyuan's indirect mockery. He only thought that if this continued, the Yaoguang branch would really be exposed. No, how could this be? Sui Luan, who was sitting in the last row, looked at the dazzling girl on the stage. His expression was dazed and his eyes were blurred, as if he was looking at the distant past through her. After all 12 matches in the first round of the tri-school tournament ended, there were 3 days to rest. Other than the eliminated teams, the most depressed were the gamblers who had failed. Especially for the match between Tianhai and Xiaoyao team, almost 99% of the people bet on Tianhai team. Moreover, because they firmly believed in Grandmaster Xianhai's prediction, most of them had even bet a large sum of spar. At this moment, it could be said that they had lost everything. Mu Yan's group was the opposite of these people who lost everything. They divided the crystals they had into 3 portions. One portion was to bet on the outcome of each match, one portion was to bet on the final champion, and the last portion was to bet on the best contestant chosen after the end of the match. Tianhai's odds against Xiaoyao team was 1-80. And the 7 of them added up to tens of thousands of crystals. Tens of thousands of crystals, multiplied by 80 times, was a huge sum. When Mu Yan's group went to the Chang'e Palace with a large pile of universe bags to collect crystals, they were almost killed by the stares of the people around them. Unfortunately, the people of the Xiaoyao sect were in a good mood after receiving a huge sum of money for no reason. They didn't want to lower themselves to their level. The first match is only 80 times. If we win the championship, it will be 200 times. If 6th senior sister wins the best contestant, it will be 600 times. Luo Yu swallowed her saliva. I've struck it big, ha ha ha. I think I can sleep on a crystal in my next life. When I go back, I'm going to renovate the Xiaoyao school into a magnificent palace. I'll let my master live in the most luxurious room and drink bejeweled wine every day. Hearing Luo Yu's childish declaration, the people of the Xiaoyao sect couldn't help but laugh. How arrogant of you. However, if you want to daydream, that's your business. Don't bring shame to the entire Starry School. Luo Yu and the others received the crystal stones and were about to return when a group of people suddenly appeared and blocked their way. Leng Yuma asked, "Who are you?" A tall but somewhat skinny woman walked out from the crowd. Chapter 1556. What? Luo Yu picked at her ears. Withdraw from the Tri-Academy tournament. And request. Is there something wrong with your brains? Who do you think you are to ask us to withdraw from the tournament? The tall and skinny girl's face was full of anger, but she seemed to be conscious of her status and couldn't speak for a moment. A short and fat man immediately jumped out from the side and said angrily, "Asking you to withdraw from the Tri-Academy tournament is to save face for you and prevent you from embarrassing our academy." As he spoke, the short and fat man glanced at the Qinquan bags in Luo Yu's hands, his eyes full of greed and hatred. He had bet all his money on Team Heaven Sea because he believed that Team Carefree would lose. He hadn't expected to lose everything. Team Heaven Sea lived in the Palace of Spirit Martial Arts Academy, so he didn't dare cause trouble for them. So he vented his anger on Team Carefree. What the hell? Ling Yuma frowned angrily. If I'm not wrong, you're from the Yuheng branch. Ha ha ha, you were eliminated in the first round, and you were eliminated in the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. Where did you get the face to ask us to withdraw from the competition? Chu Mo Li smiled leisurely. Shouldn't Team Yuheng be thanking us? If we hadn't eliminated Team Heaven Sea and set a new time record, Team Yuheng would be the last team in the Tri-Academy tournament. Team Yuheng was at the bottom of this Tri-Academy tournament. Oh, not just at the bottom. Perhaps they were the fastest team to be eliminated in the history of the Tri-Academy tournament. This can be considered to have left their name in history. The surrounding crowd couldn't help but burst into laughter. Ling Yuma and Luo Yu laughed without giving them any face. So you're here to thank us? Then take out something practical, like crystals or magic treasures. No matter how much you give, we won't mind. The faces of Team Yuheng were completely twisted. The tall skinny woman took a deep breath, gritted her teeth and said, "We lost, but we lost openly and openly, not like you, who use tricks and tricks. Even if you won, you would only be looked down upon by others. Master Xian Hai's strength ranking clearly states that your carefree team is at the bottom. If you were to fight them head-on, would you be able to beat Team Sky Sea?" Luo Yu laughed coldly and said, "Master Xian Hai's prediction must be accurate. Who says we can't beat Team Tian Hai? Of course, my prediction can't be completely accurate." Master Xian Hai's voice suddenly came from behind. Everyone hurriedly made way for him, saluting him as he walked into the middle of the crowd. Master Xian Hai continued to hold the horsetail whisk in his hand. He gently swung it, looking like an immortal. However, in terms of overall strength, Team Heaven Sea is indeed stronger than your carefree team. However, I can't help but admire your scheming and intelligence. At the start, you used a small trick like arriving late to make Team Heaven Sea lower their guard. In addition, Team Heaven Sea is broad-minded and chivalrous. They aren't willing to take advantage of others, so they easily fell into your trap and accepted the challenge with 7 people. Chapter 1557. Changle Palace was silent for a moment, then erupted in heated discussions. So that zither sound was actually meant to seduce people. It's no wonder that Team Sky Sea lost in a daze and lost so mysteriously. That's too shameless. It's called playing the Guqin to help, but it's actually seduction. Pfft, they're really lowly people from Starry School. Ha, I told you that Master Xian Hai's predictions are never wrong. Looks like it's not that Team Heaven Sea is weak, but that Team Xiaoyao is too cunning. Feng Tian and the people of Lingwu were filled with righteous indignation, and their curses were especially harsh. The people from Starry School did not dare to say anything, so they could only vent their anger on Mu Yan's group. I told you that the Alcade branch doesn't even have a mentor. Who knows what kind of bullshit they are? Why did they let them participate in the tri-school tournament? Now, the entire Starry School has been disgraced. The short and fat man immediately shouted, "Shameless Team Xiaoyao, get out of the tri-school tournament. Shameless Alcade branch, get out of Starry School. Yes, shameless Alcade branch, get out of Starry School. We don't want to be associated with you." However, Master Xian Hai was still adding fuel to the fire at that moment. If I'm not wrong, after the first match ended, you deliberately said that you wanted to become the champion. You also wanted to create psychological pressure for the teams behind you. In the end, you hoped to obtain victory in the chaos, right? Unfortunately, you're going to be disappointed this time. The results of the draw have just come out. Your next opponent is Phoenix Sky School's Team Flame. When everyone heard this, they were all shocked. Team Blaze, is that the team that entered the 3rd round last year and was defeated by the Star Dubhe team in the end? I heard that they're even stronger than last year. Ha ha ha, then Team Xiaoyao is definitely going to lose this time. No, it's not that I'm going to lose. I'm going to lose very badly. They deserve it. Who asked them to be so arrogant and say that they would be the champion? Pfft, did they get the champion by seducing men to sleep with them? The people from Xiaoyao school all had ugly expressions. Ling Yuma, who was the most hot-tempered, stepped forward and raised her blade. Say it again if you dare. Her aura leaked out, causing the surrounding temperature to drop. Changle Palace fell silent. Ha, if you have the guts, why can't we say it? The tall skinny girl from the Alioth branch sneered, all of you relied on seducing men to win, shameless. Master Xian Hai looked at Mu Yen and the others and chuckled, I advise everyone to withdraw from the competition now. This way, it can be considered as saving face. Yes, Xiaoyao withdraw now. Don't embarrass Starry School. Team. Ling Yuma's expression hardened. She was about it. Mu Yen stretched out her hand to stop him. Her gaze fell on Master Xian Hai, and she said slowly, Master Xian Hai, right? You said that we won't be able to win the next round. Why don't we make a bet now? Let. Chapter 1558. Master Xian Hai's face suddenly stiffens. 640,000 high-grade crystals, how could he have that? But at the same time, his eyes are suffused with burning greed. That's 640,000 high-grade crystals, he might not be able to earn it even if he earned it for 10 years. Mayan sneers, if Master can't come up with 640,000 high-grade crystals, then if you lose, admit in front of all the participants of the Jasper Forest gathering that your so-called strength prediction ranking is bullshit, and never call yourself a master again. How about it? Master Xian Hai's eyes flash with anger, but he doesn't show it. Instead, he says coldly, it seems that fellow Daoist June is very confident in her zither bewitching technique. This is still beating around the bush, saying that Mayan won by seducing men. It's simply intolerable. Chu Moli lightly knocks on the armrest of the wheelchair and says with a smile, in the end, Master Xian Hai still doesn't dare to bet with my junior sister. In the end, is it because you're afraid that we'll win? Then why are you telling others that we'll definitely lose? What if these people lose everything? Will Grandmaster Xian Hai pay for their losses? Oh, I almost forgot. Chu Moli has a look of sudden realization, the result of the match between Team Tian Hai and us was also predicted by Master Xian Hai. You predicted it, and everyone believed it, so they lost everything. What a pity. As soon as these words come out, the atmosphere of Changle Palace begins to subtly change. Master Xian Hai's face twitches, looking at Mayan and Chu Moli with a gaze that seems to be dipped in poison. Just then, a clear voice suddenly comes from the crowd, Master Xian Hai, bet with them. With me, Yi Xiaoqin here, she can't charm my team members. Our team, the Blaze, will definitely win. Everyone turns to look, only to see a petite and dainty girl with a delicate and pretty appearance, slowly walking over. She's holding a fiery red pipa in her hands. This pipa looks a little smaller than an ordinary pipa, like a toy. However, many people immediately recognized the person as soon as they saw the pipa. Red Flame Pipa, Yi Xiaoqin. I didn't expect her to be a member of the Blaze. The last round, the Blaze had a bye, and we didn't pay attention to their roster, so we didn't see it. Red Flame Pipa, is it very powerful? You don't even know about the Red Flame Pipa? That was the symbol of the Yi clan, an aristocratic support family. Their skills in the loot could increase the strength of their teammates by 30% in a short period of time. With Yi Xiaoqin's help, the Blaze is like a tiger that has grown wings. Ha ha ha, how could June Mayan's broken zither compare to the Red Flame Pipa? How dare you boast that you will win? Yi Xiaoqin coldly looks at Mayan, her eyes are filled with loathing. In the next match, I originally didn't intend to take part. But what you have done is a disgrace to us musicians. In tomorrow's competition, I will show you what a real assistant musician is. With that, he left with a cold and arrogant face. All right. Good job, Yi Xiaoqin, as expected of our Phoenix Sky's #1 support. Tomorrow, Team Feng Tian, you must kill every single one of those bastards from Constellation. Chapter 1559. Ha, let's go and place our bets. We'll definitely make a fortune if we bet on Carefree Team losing this time. Yeah, I'll buy it too. I'll buy it too. The crowd dispersed, and the few who stayed behind also pointed at Mu Yan and the others. The 7 of them stood in the middle of the hall of Changle Palace, looking lonely, desolate and pitiful. However, no one noticed that they were exchanging glances at this time. 6th senior sister, that's great, we can make a fortune again. 80 times 640,000, wahahaha, I don't have to worry about crystals for the rest of my life. Keep a low profile, let's let Z buy it for us this time. We can't let the odds fall back. The third match of the second round of the Tri-Academy tournament, Phoenix Sky Blaze vs Star Carefree Team. Begin. As soon as the presiding female cultivator's voice fell, a clamor broke out in the stands. From time to time, someone could be heard shouting, Team Blaze, we must teach the shameless Carefree Team a hard lesson. End the match in half an hour and make Carefree Team leave with their tails between their legs. The stands were bustling with noise, but the few people in the arena turned a deaf ear to these shouts. The leader of Team Blaze was a young man who looked mature. He said expressionlessly, I watched the match between Carefree Team and Sky Sea Team yesterday. Your strength isn't as bad as they say. But the winner today will definitely be our Team Blaze. As for you. His gaze turned to Mu Yan, surprise flashed in his eyes, and then he said coldly, I advise you not to try to charm us like you did to Sky Sea Team. Just stay at the side and watch. Our Team Blaze won't easily make a move on an auxiliary master. But if you really insist on going the wrong way, our auxiliary master will naturally give you an unforgettable lesson. Mu Yan's lips curved into a faint smile. She leisurely walked to the corner of the arena and sat down. Yi Xiaoqin saw her like this and sneered. Her eyes were full of disdain, this shameless woman knows how to adapt to circumstances. I was going to teach her a lesson. Ha, who doesn't know how powerful the red flame pipa is? As long as she has a bit of brain, she should know to retreat. Young Qin, it's better for you to hide your abilities well. When you meet the Divine Pivot Squad in the future, you'll be able to catch them off guard and take revenge. Yi Xiaoqin proudly raised her chin and walked to the end of the line. Team Blaze immediately launched an attack on Team Carefree. In the next moment, the temperature of the entire arena and even the stands suddenly rose. Even the audience in the stands could faintly feel the heat wave coming towards them. Damn, the members of the Blaze team are all using fire techniques. Looking at their spiritual power fluctuations, each one of them is very pure and has great talent. This year's Team Blaze is really amazing. Do you think Team Carefree will be burnt to a crisp? However, after the time it took to drink a cup of tea, a quarter of an hour, half of an hour, the competition on the high platform was still going on. 9 people against 6, it was like a raging fire, exchanging blows, brilliant and varied. However, not only were the 6 members of the Carefree team not suppressed, but the 9 members of the Blaze team were also unable to fight back. The audience in the stands were dumbfounded. Chapter 1560. Didn't Master Xianhai say that their strength is ranked at the bottom? Could it be that Master Xianhai's estimation was wrong? Yi Xiaoqin looks at the deadlocked situation in front of her and frowns fiercely. She curses waste in a low voice, and the red flame pipa is raised, her fingers gently plucking the 4 strings. The sad and melancholy music reverberates in the air, slowly lingering around the members of the Inferno team. Soon, the tiredness on the faces of the members of the Inferno team dissipates, and their thin spiritual power suddenly soars. Especially the leader, a red flame suddenly bursts out of his body, fierce and unparalleled. In this short period of time, the situation had taken a turn. The momentum of the originally suppressed Inferno team skyrockets, faintly making the carefree team unable to fight back. This is the power of an assistant musician. The people in the stands breathe a long sigh of relief. I admit that the carefree team isn't that waste, but as long as the Inferno team has the flame pipa Yi Xiaoqin, they're still far from winning. Yi Xiaoqin is a real assistant musician. Jun Mayan can only seduce people, that's just a dirty trick. Jun Mayan's support hasn't started yet. Maybe the carefree team can turn the tables? Relying on that broken zither of hers. How can it be compared with the red flame pipa? Don't you see that Yi Xiaoqin has already made her move, but Jun Mayan doesn't even dare to move. With Yi Xiaoqin's assistance, the members of the Inferno team fight bravely, while the carefree team is having a hard time holding on. Mayan smiles as she watches this scene. After confirming that Big Brother and Fourth Sister don't intend to show their full strength, she gently presses her hands on the Tian Mo Qin, plucking the strings. Shang. The sound of the zither resonates, shaking the sky. It's followed by the sound of a powerful army, swallowing mountains and rivers. Feather Grace, activate. Almost as soon as the sound of the zither starts, the sound of the pipa is completely covered up. Soon, the members of the Inferno team feel their bodies begin to become stiff and sluggish. It was as if there were tiny whirlpools around them, absorbing the spiritual power they released little by little. On the contrary, the members of Xiao Yao's squad rallied and fought bravely. Boom! Wang Qin punched out, and the youngest member of the Raging Inferno team screamed miserably as he was directly swept off the stage. 8-6. Ling Yuma soared into the sky. The long saber in her hand carried an imposing aura as it swept across. Another person's eyes rolled back and he immediately fainted. 7-6. The sword in Yun Ruhan's hand danced like a graceful gentleman, but every stab seemed to be able to ride the wind and break through the waves with unstoppable momentum. With a scream, another member of the fierce flame team was sent down. 6-6. At this point, all of the advantages that the blaze had were gone. The stands were completely silent. At this moment, even a blind person could see that the carefree team was stronger than the blaze team. No, they weren't just strong. If Jun Mayan's support was included, they were simply stronger than the blaze in a crushing manner. At this moment, many people, especially the students of Xingchen City, were at a loss. 7-10, and one person sitting in a wheelchair didn't move much. Just like that, they actually suppressed the blaze from beginning to end, making them unable to resist. Is this team carefree really weak? Chapter 1561. The members of Team Flame had been thrown off the platform one by one. It was too obvious who had won. The turning point of the competition was when Jun Mayan's music rang out. But Yi Xiaoqin was not willing to admit it. She had practiced flame pipa for more than 20 years. Born in the auxiliary Yi clan, she had been sought after since she was young and was called a genius musician. Before the competition, she had said that she would teach Jun Mayan a lesson and let her know what a real musician was. How could she? How could she lose to a woman like Jun Mayan? Jun Mayan. Yi Xiaoqin stood up suddenly. Do you dare to compete with me? Only you and me, a battle between two musicians. Mayan stopped plucking the strings and smiled. How do you want to compete? Yi Xiaoqin gritted her teeth. You and I, of course. The one who can't hold on first loses. In fact, among the auxiliary skills passed down in the Yi clan, there was a secret technique that was only passed down to the direct line. It was a spiritual attack. Once this technique was used, the enemy's spiritual soul would be violently attacked by the sound waves. If one could not withstand it, he would become an idiot. Even if he could, he would be in so much pain that even the most strong-willed person would not be able to bear it and could only wail and admit defeat. However, this secret skill was too vicious and consumed all of Yi Xiaoqin's spirit force. Moreover, she wouldn't be able to touch the red flame pipa for at least 3 months after using it. Therefore, Yi Xiaoqin didn't plan on using it in the Tri-Academy tournament. But now, she could not care about anything. Today, if she can't suppress Mayan's limelight, she will lose all her face. Henceforth, she will no longer have a foothold in Azure Blue World. Yi Xiaoqin added, if you lose, Team Xiaoyao will have to admit defeat too. Now, Team Flame only had 1 leader left, while Team Xiaoyao still had 7 people. This was very shameless. On the spectator stand, many Starry School students had already started jeering. Pfft, what do you mean Team Xiaoyao has to admit defeat too? Why? It's obvious that our Constellation team won. I thought Yi Xiaoqin and Team Flame were strong. Now it seems that they're not strong at all. They're just shameless. June Mayan, don't agree. Beat the crap out of Team Blazers. After all, Carefree Team was Constellation's team. They represented Constellation's reputation. In the beginning, they hated the Carefree squad because they thought that they had no strength and were treacherous. They were afraid that they would lose face. But now that they discovered that the Carefree team was actually so strong, they naturally began to switch sides and support them. On the other hand, the spectators at the Phoenix Sky Academy's side were deathly silent. All of them were ashamed and resentful, wishing they could find a hole to crawl into. Mu Yan looked at Yi Xiaoqin and chuckled, you have a good plan. Yi Xiaoqin asked, what? Do you not dare to compete with me? Of course, she knew how shameless her actions were. However, this shamelessness would be forgotten as long as she won the competition and obtained a good ranking. Mu Yan looked at Yun Ruhan and the others. Senior brothers, what do you think? Yun Ruhan glanced at Yi Xiaoqin with a complicated expression. It's up to you, junior sister. As he spoke, he retreated. The others immediately retreated behind Mu Yan, laughing and joking as they retreated. Chapter 1562. The point is that she's challenging the musician skill. Isn't this just taking things too hard? I kind of sympathize with her. Yi Xiaoqin can't hear the conversation of Luo Yu and the others, but she can see that they're laughing and not putting her in their eyes. She grits her teeth, but there's a wild smile in her eyes. You can laugh, you can be proud, but you'll cry later. In the huge square, everyone else has retreated to the side, leaving only Mayan and Yi Xiaoqin sitting in the center, separated by a few feet. Almost as soon as she sits down, Yi Xiaoqin immediately plucks the 4 strings. Her eyes are full of ruthlessness. The speed of playing the pipa is getting faster and faster, and the tone is sharp, piercing the eardrums. There's no longer the original beauty and desolation of beads falling on a jade plate, only a fierce murderous intent is left. She actually used a killing move from the beginning. The people in the stands suddenly look shocked. Even if they're not in the game, they can still feel the murderous intent in this pipa music. The girl in white is slender, her face like snow, like an orchid in an empty valley, and also like a fairy from the 9th heaven. People can't bear to profane her, but they also long to get close to her. But such a beautiful girl is now surrounded by malevolent music, as if countless ghostly claws will stretch out at any time and tear her to pieces. Many people's hearts are in their throats. Someone even shouts, "June Mayan, run." I heard that the Yi family has a musician skill that can directly attack a person's soul and turn them into an idiot. Yi Xiaoqin is so vicious, using such a trick in the 3-courtyard competition. June Mayan, don't compete with her, quickly leave the arena. The corner of Mayan's mouth hooks up into a shallow smile, then she only stretches out a hand and presses it on the Tian Mo Qin. Her slender index finger is slightly bent, and the round, pink nails are trimmed, revealing an intoxicating luster under the sun. Clang! A sound rang out, and a halo of light appeared around Mu Yan in a split second. Yi Xiaoqin's pipa music falls on the halo, and suddenly seems to encounter an insurmountable barrier. Not only can it not move forward, but it directly bounces back. Yi Xiaoqin spits out a mouthful of blood, falls to the ground, and can't get up. There's a dead silence in the stands. Everyone, including the mentors of the major academies, were dumbfounded. That's because June Mayan only plucked the zither string once, only producing one note. Just like that, the geniuses of the Yi family were unable to retaliate at all. Yi Xiaoqin suddenly raised her head and roared hysterically, "Impossible! How is this possible? How could you possibly break the divine soul attack of my Yi family?" June Mayan slowly stands up, looking down at her from above. "It's just an insignificant competition, yet you launched a soul attack against your opponent, turning a cultivator into a waste. What's the difference between that and murder? Yi Xiaoqin, you're the one who doesn't deserve to be a musician. I don't think you'll ever need to play again." As soon as her voice falls, she waves the Tian Mo Qin with one hand. The Tian Mo Qin immediately makes a clanging sound, and countless zither notes turn into sharp blades, shooting straight at Yi Xiaoqin. Yi Xiaoqin let out a blood-curdling scream. She was covered in blood and passed out. On the grandstand, where the deans of the 3 academies were seated, Di Yudao, Li Wenyuan, Dean Feng Tian, and Xing Danqing didn't say a word. The silence in the surroundings was somewhat eerie. Chapter 1563. They also have less than 10 people to take up the challenge, and they are also not favored by anyone. They are both amazingly talented zither players. Li Wenyuan murmured, continuing Xing Danqing's words. And they are also from the Yaoguang branch. The two slowly looked at Di Yudao. Di Yudao clenched his fists tightly, using all his strength to restrain himself so that he didn't reveal any abnormalities. It's just a coincidence. What's so strange about it? He swung his sleeves and turned to leave. Li Wenyuan and Xing Danqing looked at his flustered and exasperated figure from behind, and both of them revealed astonished expressions. As soon as Di Yudao turned around, he immediately clenched his fists, his face twisted. No, he would never let the Yaoguang branch continue to win. The second round ended, and the 6 advancing teams were all born. The Starry School, which was originally the least favored, actually took 3 out of the 6 teams. The most surprising was, of course, the Carefree team's advancement. When Mu Yan and the others went to Chang'e Palace to exchange crystals, Master Xian Hai was blocked in a corner, being questioned by the crowd. "You liar, it's all because you said that the Carefree team would definitely lose that I bet all my crystals on it. Yes, none of your predictions are accurate, and you call yourself a master. Give me back my spar. Hurry up and pay us back." Master Xian Hai waved his hands in panic. He finally rushed out of the crowd, but ran into Mu Yan and the others. Mu Yan chuckled. "Master Xian Hai, do you still remember our bet? Now, Are you going to take out 640,000 crystals, or are you going to publicly admit that your strength prediction is bullshit? Master Xianhai's face turned green and white. Finally, he gritted his teeth and said in a low voice, My prediction of the tri-school tournament is bullshit. Louder. Mu Yen said coldly. Let everyone hear you. Otherwise, Master Xianhai, you'd better take out 640,000 crystals. Yes, your prediction is not accurate at all. Just admit that you're bullshit. What Master Xianhai? I think it's Xianhai King Ba. Ha ha ha, the carefree team is awesome. Master Xianhai's face was full of embarrassment and anger. He shouted, My prediction of the tri-school tournament is bullshit. Bullshit. That means you're admitting that you're a dog. Ha ha ha, Xianhai dog. Since you've admitted that you're a dog, why don't you scram? Changle Palace is a place where only people can come. Master Xianhai fled in a sorry state. Mu Yen and the others took the small mountain of spar and swaggered away. In the palace of the School of the Emperor's Star specially provided for the carefree team to rest, everyone counted the crystals they had earned this time. They were about to go crazy with joy. The 7 of them packed up the crystal stones and were about to go to Changle Palace to eat and drink to celebrate. Suddenly, a voice rang through the entire School of the Emperor's Star. The results of the 3rd round of the Tri-Academy tournament have been announced. Phoenix Sky Monarch team and Star Dubhe team will have a bye. The remaining 4 teams are as follows: Lingwu Xiongba team against Xingchen Xiaoyao team, Feng Tian Qi Huan team against Xingchen Tianquan team. We will now repeat the results of the draw. The Changle Palace was silent for a moment, and then it immediately became noisy again. Chapter 1564. Although the carefree team will definitely lose this time, their results in this grand competition are already considered very good. Who said that the carefree team will definitely lose? Don't forget, they have the strongest support, Jun Mayan. Mayan and the others are eating delicacies while listening to the discussions around them with great interest. Suddenly, the light in front of them darkens, and several shadows are cast down. The surrounding air is filled with a sense of oppression at this moment. A voice like a bell rings in their ears, You are Jun Mayan. Mayan looks up, only to find that the ones blocking their light are actually 4 or 5 burly men like small hills. Luo Yu looks at the knotted muscles all over their body, and pinches her own thin forearms, and can't help but click her tongue. God, one of them can match up to 2 people on her side. Even Qin Zhou, who looks strong in the carefree team, seems to have shrunk in size in front of them. Mayan raises her eyebrows, You are. Someone in the crowd immediately exclaims, The Xiongba team, they are the people of the Lingwu Xiongba team. God, they already look very burly on the field, but I didn't expect them to be so strong up close, and their pressure is even more frightening. If I were to fight against them, I would have fainted from fright before the fight even started. The people of the Xiongba team condescendingly look at Mayan. The little girl has such fine skin and tender flesh, an outstanding beauty. In a moment's competition, it really makes people reluctant to lay their hands on you. Mayan blinks, You are from the Xiongba team. Several people raise their chins, revealing an arrogant expression. I admit that the strength of your carefree team is indeed not bad, but that is under the condition that you are assisting. But his gaze sweeps over everyone in the carefree team. Do you have the ability to protect your support? Seeing Luo Yu and the others reveal a stunned expression. The people of the Xiongba team laugh. Jun Mayan, I advise you not to participate in the next match. Otherwise, no matter how strong your support ability is, can you still protect yourself? When that time comes, don't blame us for being ruthless. Dropping this provocative remark, the people of the Xiongba team arrogantly swagger away. Everyone in Changle stares blankly at first, then they immediately understand. That's right, Jun Mayan is indeed a heaven-defying musician, and the strongest support in this Chonglin tournament. But the problem was that all auxiliary combat power was extremely weak. Only by relying on the protection of his teammates could he survive. It would be better if the Xiaoyao team had a full complement of 10 people. Perhaps they could separate 2 or 3 people to specifically protect Mayan. However, there were only 7 people in the Carefree squad. If they sent 2 people to protect the support master, 5 people against 10 people from the mighty tyrants. Even with strong support, they would definitely lose. In previous competitions, there had been teams that relied on strong support to control the entire field. However, the strengths and weaknesses of such a team were equally prominent. That was, as long as the supporting Shouja were eliminated, the entire team would collapse, and there would be no chance of victory. At this moment, the mighty tyrants had obviously grasped the Carefree team's weakness. In the following match, Carefree team would definitely lose. Chapter 1565. The girl in front of them looks so slender and delicate, untainted by dust, making people reluctant to let her suffer any harm. But if she goes up against the Xiongba team, such an orchid will inevitably be cruelly destroyed. It's not necessary for the victory or defeat of a match. Xiaoyao team, you should also think about it clearly. Is the outcome of the match more important, or is your junior sister more important? Don't tell me you want to let your fellow disciples fall into such a situation for your own victory or defeat. Chu Moli picks up a piece of silk cloth from the side and wipes his mouth, unhurriedly saying, "Thank you for your concern." However, although the junior sister is important, the outcome of the match is also very important. We've bet a lot of crystals on ourselves. If we lose, wouldn't we lose miserably? I have no choice but to reluctantly let little junior sister go on stage. By the way, do you want to try betting on us to win? Maybe you can also make a lot of money like us. Everyone roars with laughter. At this time, these people are still thinking about winning crystals. Unless we're stupid, would we bet on the Xiaoyao team to win? Forget it, since they want to court death, why should we care about them? Let's go, let's bet on the Xiongba team to win. Maybe we can earn back the crystals we lost. The first match of the third round of the Tri-Academy tournament is Feng Tian Chi Huan against Xing Chen Migres. In this match, both sides fought very fiercely, evenly matched. At the end of the hour, the Chi Huan team won by a hair's breadth with an advantage of one more person. However, everyone's attention has already shifted to the next match. The 7-person Xiaoyao team against the most ferocious Xiongba team. Can they retreat unscathed, and how long can they last under the pressure of the Xiongba team? Seeing the beautiful woman in snow-white clothes slowly walk onto the stage with a black zither in her arms, many people show an unbearable expression. Have the Carefree squad gone mad? They don't even care about their lives to win. They clearly know that the Xiongba team is going to cripple Jun Mayan, yet they still let her go on stage. Alas, you don't know how ruthless the Xiongba team is. I heard that in their Lingwu courtyard competition, they directly crippled the entire team that didn't deal with them. Especially their captain, Gong Kan, who even pierced his opponent's dantian in front of all the teachers and students. Are you kidding me? Will Lingwu Academy not pursue the matter? Who asked Team Xiongba to be so strong? The Spiritual Martial Arts Academy still had to rely on them to fight for glory. If they pursue the matter, will there still be a team left in the Spiritual Martial Academy? It's over, it's over. I don't even want to watch this match. Jun Mayan is such a delicate beauty, and such a powerful auxiliary musician. It would be such a pity if she were to be crippled like this. On the dean's seat, Li Wenyuan looked at the students who were already standing on the field, and a proud smile appeared on his face. He turned around and pretended to look at Dean Zhai, the members of our Xiongba team are all uncouth men. They don't know how to control their strength. If they hurt your students, please don't take offense. Dyudeo's face was gloomy and he didn't say anything. He lowered his eyes and revealed a sly smile. Of course, he knew how fierce and powerful the members of the mighty tyrants were. It was precisely because of their savagery that he had arranged this competition. This match was going to be the most tragic outcome. Chapter 1566. From then on, no one would ever mention these 7 people again, and no one would ever think of the Alcade branch. This was the best ending. That's right, Diyu Dao had tampered with the results. Any team in the Starry School, any school, could become famous in the world, but only the Alcade School could not. Otherwise, the things he wanted to hide would soon be exposed. Jun Muyen, Xiaoyao team, can't you just hide in the Alcade branch? Why do you have to show yourself? Don't blame me, you asked for it. The second match of the 3rd round of the Tri-Academy tournament, Starry Xiaoyao team against Lingwu Xiongba. Begin. The host did not leave immediately after saying this. Instead, she hesitated for a moment and walked to Mu Yan's side. Lowering her voice, she said, "You have to be careful of Gong Kan, the captain of Xiongba. He has a nickname, the Bloody Butcher. In last year's Tri-Academy tournament, he mercilessly crippled a senior from our school. That senior had a bright future." She paused and choked with hatred. "Anyway, be careful, he has his eyes on you today." Mu Yan glanced at the host and smiled gratefully. "Thank you for your reminder. How about I help you take revenge for that senior?" The host was stunned. She wanted to say something, but the gongs had already been sounded. The tournament had officially begun. Everyone in Xiongba was muscular. Every one of them was the size of 2 people in Xiaoyao team. Especially Mu Yan, Luo Yu, and Ling Yuxing, they were like children in front of them. Luo Yu was speechless. My God, what did they eat? Why do they look like inflated leather bags? Just then, someone walked out from Xiongba. That person's physique and appearance weren't particularly outstanding among the members of the mighty tyrants, but his eyes were extremely sinister, faintly flashing with a bloody ruthlessness. This was the captain of Xiongba, the famous Bloody Butcher. Gong Kan's gaze turned and landed on Mu Yan's face. A hint of shock and lust flashed past his eyes. "Little girl, I'll give you a chance. As long as you agree to sleep with me after the competition, I'll allow you to jump down from this arena right now. How about it?" These words could be said to be extremely explicit and disgusting. Yun Ruhan and the others were furious. Insulting them was fine, but insulting their junior apprentice sister would result in death. Mu Yan stops the few people who want to make a move, and unhurriedly says, "And if I don't agree?" "Ha!" Gong Kan sneered. "Do you think we're the same as the weaklings you met before? If we can win, we'll fight. If we can't, we'll withdraw." He clenched his fists until his knuckles made cracking sounds. "I can tell you right now, since you're not willing to take the easy way out, once the competition starts, it's not up to you to decide when it ends." As soon as he finished speaking, Gong Kan raised his hand. The members of Team Xiongba immediately moved. They were tall and sturdy, but their movements were extremely fast. One of them, who was wielding a meteor hammer, let out a roar and smashed the huge hammer towards the center of the arena. Mu Yan and the others quickly retreated. There was a loud bang, and a huge hole was smashed in the center of the arena. Gravel flew everywhere. This move was much louder than when Qinzhou punched the ground. There was a burst of exclamation from the audience. Chapter 1567. But it was also this hammer that forced the people from the Xiaoyao sect to scatter. "Oh no, Jun Mayan is alone," someone on the stand exclaimed, panic written all over his face. He saw that the meteor hammer just now had forced Mayan to the northern corner. At the moment, 3 people were surrounding her. One of them was the captain of the Shiba team, Gong Kan. Many people had seen the strength of the other 2 in the previous 2 matches. They could easily crush a member of the Blaze team. 3 top masters ganged up on Mayan, an assistant musician. It was easy to imagine how miserable her ending would be. The people from the Xiaoyao sect wanted to rush over to help, but everyone was being watched by a member of the Shiba team. They couldn't move an inch. The Shiba team even sent someone to guard the edge of the stand to prevent anyone from the Xiaoyao sect from fleeing in fear. Gong Kan licked his lips, as if tasting blood. His eyes were filled with excitement. "I said, once the match starts, it's not up to you to decide when it ends. Little girl, even if you beg for mercy now, I won't let you go. Just thinking of your blood in my mouth makes me so excited that I can't control myself." He. On the stand, many people turned their heads away and covered their faces. The slender and beautiful girl was pale as snow, weak and fragile. So alluring, so ethereal, and so easily destroyed. They really couldn't bear to see such a bloody and miserable scene. What is the Starry School doing? Why aren't they stopping the match? Could it be that they really want to watch a genius like Jun Mayan fall before their eyes? I really can't bear to watch. I'd rather lose all my crystals than see a genius assistant musician end up like that. Gong Kan slowly raised his hand. His weapon was a pair of rushing thunder claws, which was directly sheathed on his hands. As long as he infused it with spiritual energy, it could split mountains, break metals, and penetrate armor. Gong Kan loved to use this pair of rushing thunder claws to pierce through the enemy's body, feeling their warm blood splattering, listening to their mournful and desperate screams. The more miserable the screams, the more excited he was. When Gong Kan's hands landed on Mayan's chest, his eyes were filled with anticipation for the next moment. However, the expected screams and blood did not come. Gong Kan's thunder rush claw stopped in midair, as if it was blocked by something. Even if he used all the spiritual power in his body, he still couldn't move an inch. Gong Kan raised his head in surprise, but what he saw was the girl's sparkling peach blossom eyes. A lazy smile appeared on her beautiful face, but the depths of her eyes were dark and unfathomable. Gong Kan suddenly turned his head and looked at his rushing thunder claw. Only then did he discover that what blocked his rushing thunder claw was actually a zither. It was a tattered wooden zither that looked as if it could be broken at any time. How was this possible? His galloping thunder claw was a tier 7 spirit weapon. It could even cut through the hardest iron and stone like tofu. Why was he stopped by a broken zither? "Your mouth is full of filthy words, it gives me a headache." In Gong Kan's ears, the girl's heavenly voice sounded, "But there's one thing you're right about. Once the competition begins, it's not up to you to decide when it will end." The strings of the zither suddenly moved, emitting a buzzing sound. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.